I know the season never really ends for you. You get a little bit, but this has been very busy after winning a World Series.
Yeah.
Coming back after what you guys did, how different has this been for you now?
Well, coming back all winter, it's been, I mean, a big change. You know, a lot of excitement everywhere you go. Fans are really, really excited over what we accomplished, and it was a neat sense of accomplishment that we got to kind of almost like accomplish it together. So it's been a fun winter every time I came back to Kansas City.
Were you the biggest cheer we just heard up there when the whole?
No, I haven't been there today. I was there last night late, but not today.
What do you think of the additions? You know, what will Ian Kennedy bring? Joakim Soria returning.
They'll bring some stability to the bullpen and to our starting rotation. Ian Kennedy, Dave, has a lot of confidence that Ian's gonna be an inning eater for us and a consistent performer. It's like Dave Island and I were talking today, because Dave's had history with Ian that. You're going to know what you get every time he steps on the mound. That's important for a manager and a coaching staff. To have a basic idea. You're not starting a game just hoping, that he's going to throw a good game. You're going to get a pretty good idea with his consistency what you're going to get every time he steps on the mound. And the same for Joakim Soria. I mean, you know what you're going to get. I mean, he's a tremendous competitor, and he's going to fit in a very, very solid bullpen extremely well.
The balancing act you did last year with keeping the bullpen fresh and not maybe getting the innings out of the rotation you wanted, how vital was it getting a guy like Ian that can give
well,
you
I mean, it was vital. It was vital to get that, and we feel real good with our starting rotation this year with Volquez and Ventura. We just think that. Like a lot of our young players early in their careers, when you go back and you look at Moose and you look at Haas and some of the adversity that they went through and some of the struggles that they have gone through by putting a lot of pressure on themselves, Ventura did that last year. He's a young guy, but he's going to be a very, very solid producer for us this year. I just think Chris Medlin's going to bounce back really, really well and have a great year for us this year, and having Chris Young there, and Ian Kennedy and Danny Duffy. I mean, we're going to have a good starting rotation when it's all said and done.
I'm sorry. How competitive is that going to be to get that 4 and 5 spot in the rotation?
Well, it's always competitive, but again, we'll do like we do every spring. We'll go out and let guys pitch. You kind of go in with an open mind. You don't really try to have too much. If it's set in stone when you get to spring training, you let guys compete. That's the way I've always liked to do it. And we'll see. And then we'll decide, what's best for our team. What's going to give us the best opportunity to, compete for another championship and go with that.
You feel like you have 3 solid guys in that rotation ready to roll and the last 2 are up for grabs?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we'll see. I've got a lot of confidence in Chris Young. I got a lot of confidence in Chris Medlin. Danny Duffy's a guy, as we saw last year, could be very valuable out of the pen, but can be very valuable as a starter too. So you try to acquire as much starting pitching depth that you can have, because you're always going to need it.
Seems like a great problem to have, right?
It's always a great problem to have, yeah. And again, you don't stress over who your 5's going to be right now. You let them compete and you find out and go from there. And then you always make adjustments.
Speaking of the competition, you have so much of the lineup remaining. Are you planning on being competition for those spots, or you pretty much have a lot of it figured out with just a couple of things to...
No, most of it's figured out. I mean, Sal's not going to compete, with anybody. Hosmer's not going to compete. Moose isn't going to compete. Escobar, he's not competing. Gordy's not going to compete. Kane's not going to compete. So, we'll look at right field. We'll let, Dyson and Orlando, which will probably end up being some sort of a platoon out there a little bit.
What about the order of the lineup itself?
Well, that will be decided in spring training. For me, the one spot, that is going to be a bit of a hole right now for us, which was the same spot that was a bit of a hole for us last spring, and that's the number 2 spot. And, Zobrist filled that spot so well last year and really really solidified our lineup when we got Benny and put him in the 2 spot. But we've got guys that have proven they can be productive there. Moose was very productive there last year. Gordy can be productive there this year. So we'll get into spring training like we always do as a coaching staff, and we'll look at the flow of the lineup during the spring and come up with a really good number 2 hitter.
Now, Omar, an update on Omar, his health, and what you think he might be able to do this year?
I think he's going to bounce back really nice, but again, we got to get to spring training and find out. I just think that, players at times have tough years. You don't abandon them because of it, especially when they've got track records. And I think, Omar played for me last year. It was his finest defensive year at second base. He was tremendous at second base. Struggled offensively, but we've known that he can, be a producer at that spot offensively. So, we look for him to bounce back, and we got Christian Colon, who's, going to compete too. So we'll just see how that all plays out.
How long did it take you to catch your breath after the World Series and all the celebrations?
I don't think I've really caught it yet. I told my wife the other day I need to get to spring training so we can get some rest. But it's been pretty hectic, but it's been fun, and it's been, a great experience.
Then when you go to spring training like this, can you pretty much know who you got? Does it give you a better opportunity to maybe look at some of the young guys coming up? Or
No, I don't think so. I just think, especially after the last 2 years, we pretty much have, you're right, an idea of what we got now. There's not that period where you're going and hoping that some of these young players will turn the corner and have good years. Our guys, have proven that they can be really consistent performers, and who they are now is pretty much, what you're going to get. And you look at the guys we put on the All-Star team last year. We put, a bunch of guys on that All-Star team, and we got a bunch of guys that are All-Stars. So, in a sense, it's easier. With that, you're not hoping that, geez, I hope that, this guy breaks out or that guy breaks out or does what he's capable of doing. You get a really good team like we have now, and then you just hope that everybody stays healthy.
Ned, what do you expect from the team? Last year they came in with a hunger, kind of a chip on their shoulder. They didn't finish what they started, and that kind of drove them. Now they've accomplished it. So what do you kind of expect the move?
Exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah. These guys, look, when these kids were scouted and these kids were signed and drafted, they weren't only signed and drafted because they were tremendously talented players. Our area scouts, our amateur scouts, they scout these kids not only talent-wise but makeup-wise. So we've got a group inside of our locker room that has tremendous makeup, has tremendous chemistry in there. They all play hard for each other, and they're not a group that is just going to say, okay, we won, we're just going to take the year off. No. We have the opportunity to go back-to-back, and we were, 90 feet short of fighting for a three-peat right now. So, it's a hungry group. It's a group that loves playing in Kansas City for our fans and wants to do it again.